Hello everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video and another Ford Ranger electric update. This one is going to be a little bit different though, because normally my sort of target audience, right, I'm reaching out to electric vehicle community, maybe people who are updating their own EVs or people who are trying to do it yourself electric vehicle conversion, that sort of thing. But in this case, I kind of feel like I need to reach out to the greater Ford Ranger community because I think y'all need to know. Essentially, what I've been doing right now is I'm prepping not this 98 Ford Ranger Electric, but my 99 Ford Ranger Electric, just getting it roadworthy, doing a lot of the basic maintenance while I get the last few components I need to get the battery working and then installed. But one of the things that I came across, right, is a cabin air filter. Now, if you look through a lot of the Ranger forums, a lot of the Ranger groups, people are under the impression, I've seen several videos now that have claimed that the Ford Ranger does not have a cabin air filter. Now, I cannot speak to the gas-powered Rangers, but I can speak to the electric Ranger, and it most definitely does have a cabin air filter, and I'm about 99.9% sure that the regular gas-powered Ford Ranger also has a cabin air filter. And after having done the swap out, I can see why. It's supposed to be a regular once-a-year maintenance, and it is a pain. It's not necessarily a high difficulty level, it's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of steps, and you know, it's really invasive for something that you have to be doing once a year. Ford could have made it a lot easier when they designed it. Now, the reason I say I'm 99.9% sure is when I looked up a part for the Ford Ranger Electric specifically for a cabin air filter, there wasn't one listed, but there was one listed for 2001 to 2011 Ford Ranger. When I checked out the part, it was basically identical. The blower motor that I've seen on other Ford Rangers, on the gas-powered Ford Ranger, looks identical to the one that's used in the Ford Ranger Electric. And so even though the actual heater core is different, the actual blower looks like it's the same. Now, the heater core is different, and I'll just do a quick overview for those of you who might be gas-powered Ranger owners. The Ford Ranger Electric does not have a heater core, a liquid heater core that feeds up through the radiator system into the cabin that the blower blows across to heat the cabin. Because it's electric, it has what's referred to as a PTC, but that PTC heater runs off of electricity and the fan blows across it instead of blowing across the heater core. And the reason it has to do that is these are very stingy when it comes to energy, right? So an electric vehicle uses, for motion, about 90% of the energy that's fed into the system, whereas a gas car is maybe lucky to use about 20%. And the waste from a gas car is all in heat. Now, these are over 20-year-old vehicles, so they use what's called an induction motor that's not quite as efficient, so it does give off heat, but not enough to actually heat the cabin, or so we suppose. Some later heat scavenging systems, and to Tesla's credit, they were able to get the induction motor to act more like a heater by feeding that excess heat, that waste heat, into the system and scavenging it. But again, you're scavenging not a whole lot of heat that's left. So while these trucks do have an extensive radiator system and there are cooling tubes connecting the induction motor to the front radiator, Ford decided that there wasn't enough waste heat to feed through the heater core, the traditional heater core in the dash of the Ranger. So they chose to use this PTC heater core instead. So the housing itself is, again, different than the standard Ranger, but like I said, the blower motor specifically in the blower motor housing looks almost identical. One of the only other changes is Ford added a air recirculator for these Ford Ranger electrics because, again, stingy with the energy. They wanted you to be able to recirculate cabin heat and keep running it over the PTC heater rather than consistently pulling in outside air, having maybe a positive internal pressure and then just bleeding off hot air and then constantly heating new cold air as it came in. So they created a recirculation vent that's behind the glove compartment that feeds in, and you can actually see right through to where the blower motor is, and when you replace the filter you can see the filter there as well. So that filter is very, very important in terms of cleaning up the air that's coming in and keeping that blower motor free of debris. As you can see, this is y'all are nasty if you're not replacing this. This is yeah, I don't know how long this went. That truck only has about 30,000 miles on it, so this filter needed to be changed a long time ago. And lucky enough, I was able to find a part. I don't know how, dated, how the Ford original part is no longer available, but I was lucky enough to be able to order these. Looks identical, it's clean, and I mean, it isn't cheap either. That's the other reason why I'm thinking people weren't changing them very often. These were like $20 a piece. But I mean, it is, you're cleaning your cabin air. And the other reason I wanted to bring this up to the larger Ranger community is I've seen a lot of posts from Ford Ranger guys complaining about the blower motor, saying there's not pushing enough air, not through the AC, not through the heater. And it got me thinking, if they're not changing their cabin air filter because enough people think that they don't have one, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be blowing max air through this. So I would recommend, first thing, for those of you who own older Ford Ranger and you're worried about the throughput of the air in the system, pull that blower motor and replace this, this filter. Now, the process is not easy in terms of, like I said, it's not difficult in terms of know-how. It's just a lot of steps and a lot of things that you have to do. It brings me back to my younger years working on Ford trucks because it is a pain in the ass. You basically need 3 different socket sizes. I love these ratcheting sockets, box end and sockets, and you'll want an 8mm just for the blower. Now, you also have to pull the windshield wiper and radiator fluid reservoir and move it, along with pulling a bunch of other wiring harnesses. There's a long step-by-step guide in the Ford Ranger electric workshop manual. I guess maybe people don't have like Chiltons or whatever for these Ford Rangers, because I'm pretty sure they'd also offer a step-by-step. But yeah, you need an 8mm to pull the 4 nuts off of the blower motor. Then you need a 10mm to pull the upper bolts off of the reservoirs, and then you need an 11mm to pull the bolts or the nuts off the bottom reservoir to be able to pick it up and move it, right, and reorient it so that you can pull the blower motor out. So the entire process takes a lot of steps. It's very involved. It's not great technical difficulty. The other pain in the butt is also actually getting the filter in there. They even have a technique for, you squeeze the tabs in at 9 and 3, rotate to 10 and 4, jiggle, wiggle, hokey pokey, shake the filter about. You just have to feel it. Like the filter kind of flexes, and you can squeeze and flex it a little bit and shift it around, but the clips have a very positive snap into place. It's much harder to get the old filter out than it is to put the new one in. But overall, I would say, if you're familiar and you have the tools, like I said, sometimes you need an extension, sometimes you actually need the shorter socket just to get in there. But all told, it should take less than an hour to do the entire thing, from pulling it to putting it back in. It took me a couple days only because I had to order the part, which wasn't available locally. So I pulled it all out, verified the part looked right, and then I was able to go back and put it all back together again. And now we have a a clean filter in the 99 Ford Ranger Electric. This old rust bucket, I have a lot of work to do on the frame and everything else, so before I even bother using this other filter in here, I've got a whole lot of structural stuff to do with this truck. But anyway, like I said, I hope this is something that you all were needing to hear, maybe in the Ranger community. Basically, if you're trying to keep these old trucks on the road, you're probably going to want to circulate clean air through the vehicle, and you're not going to want to have to replace a blower fan that doesn't need to be replaced. So yeah, check it out. I mean, go through the process, maybe check to see. Like I said, these parts were listed as parts specifically for the 2001 to 2011 Ford Ranger, so the gas-powered. So there might be some subtleties. I know there's a lot of different powertrains, a lot of different configurations, but this works for the Ford Ranger Electric. I can verify that. And like I said, the blower motor housing and everything else looks very similar to what I've seen in other Ford Rangers. So anyway, like I said, I hope this is helpful. I hope it gets you back on the road with some clean air in your cabin, and let me know how it goes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'll hope to be doing some more updates on the Ford Ranger specifically as I make some more progress, and thank you for watching.